Hello everyone, welcome back to studyknits. My name is Allie and I'm a resident physician living in New York City. And welcome if this is your first time here, welcome back if you've been here before. If you've been here before and you've seen, I would say like pretty much the majority of my videos, you know that I can be quite careless sometimes with my knitting. And I, like a lot of us, am prone to making mistakes in knitting, but I feel like I've made I've made a lot of big mistakes with my knitting, and I've had a lot of knitting fails. And so I thought I would make this video, walk you through some of my biggest knitting fails, what went wrong, and what I've learned from them, if there was anything to be learned from it. Let me know in the comments any of your knitting fails, if you've ever done something similar to me, because I would love to have a little laugh about it, if that's okay with you. I love hearing other people's knitting fails, watching other people talk about their fails on YouTube, mostly because it's incredibly relatable, and also I feel like there's nothing to be ashamed about. It's a craft, we're all prone to making mistakes, whether they're the fault of our own, a yarn selection, whatever. And what can you do but learn from it and laugh? So let's get into it. I have my iPad here as always with my notes. It's running low on battery. I had to charge it before I filmed this, so I really hope it doesn't die. I will start off by telling you about what I'm wearing and how this was one of my knitting fails. This is the twist loop top by Other Loops. I knit this last summer. I knit it with Knitting for Olive Merino in the color Cloud. And this is my second time making it, as in I made one, frogged it, and then made this with it. So I made this top twice last summer and unraveled one of them, made the other one. What happened with the one last summer? Well, what happened with the first one? Two things. I was sort of scared of negative ease / patterns with no ease. I was scared of negative ease. And this top calls for 0 centimeters of ease. So like no ease at all. And if you don't know what ease is, it basically tells you how a garment should fit on your body. So if there's positive ease, if there's 10 centimeters of positive ease, that means the garment is like 10 centimeters bigger than your bust. If there's 10 centimeters of negative ease, that means the garment is 10 centimeters smaller than your bust. And if there's 0 centimeters of ease, it means it should fit the exact same. The finished garment should be the same size as your bust. This was, as pattern was written, should have been 0 centimeters of ease. So I was scared of that. I didn't want it to be tight. No idea why. So I measured myself. I was supposed to make the size medium according to my bust. However, I decided to make a size bigger because I didn't want it to be too big. I decided to make a size bigger and knit the whole thing. Also, as you can tell, this is 3x2 rib, which means when it knits up, it's really scrunchy. And then, oh my gosh, I'm in full sun right now. That's unfortunate. So when you knit it in the rib, before you block it, it's really scrunched up. So you like simply cannot tell how big it's actually gonna be. And then when you block it, that's when you see how big it's gonna be. I should have done a mid-project block to make sure that it would fit. I didn't. So I make the whole thing, weave in the ends, block it, try it on, and it looks like it looks so weird. Like weird is the best way to describe it. The armholes were really, really saggy. The armholes in these are still kind of saggy, but in the one bigger, like you could see my entire bra and then some skin underneath. It was so baggy. It was a weird length. And on top of that, I didn't like the way the shoulders were constructed. That is not about the sizing, that's just about my personal preference and fit. So I didn't like the way that looked, and I was like, oh my God, what do I do with this? So I basically unraveled it, I frogged the whole thing, and then I made this size. I made this size medium, which was my size on paper. It's still a little large. I would say there's probably like 1 or 2 or 3 centimeters of positive ease on this. So I didn't quite get engaged, but that's okay. And then I made the shoulders a bit bulkier, as you can see. They're honestly a little too bulky in the sense that they're like hanging over my, they're hanging over my shoulders a little bit. I don't love that. However, I like it a lot more than the first way it turned out. So what I learned from that knitting fail is don't be afraid of negative ease. If you like the way that a pattern looks on the designer, in the designer photos, if you like the way it fits on the way that on other people that have made it, if you like the way those look, adhere to the suggested ease of the garment. A great lesson for me to learn. I think that's about all I learned from that. I really am just in full sun. I wonder if I can scoot closer. Does that look, I'm still in the sun. I feel like I'm so close. Wait, I am just gonna lower the shade. I'm like less in the sun now, but the lighting has gone away from the back. Number 2, my rift sweater. If you've watched, I wanna say I talked about it in no less than 5 podcasts. If you watch any of my podcasts, probably before last October, I think, October of 2024, I talked about my rift sweater by Jared Flood. I made this sweater for my fiance, and I knit it using Hip Knit Shop Pop Merino in the color Milk and Cookies or Cookies and Cream or something like that. Gorgeous yarn, gorgeous sweater pattern. However, I made a lot of mistakes. So I think a first important thing to note is that the sweater is bottom up, which is an odd construction for a sweater. So I knit, so I basically knit the whole body and knit the detailing around the armholes, and then knit the front, knit the back, and then knit the sleeves. And then after the sleeves were knit and bound off, seamed the sleeves onto the sweater. That was the basic construction of the sweater. Here is where the problems start. So I measure my fiance. I take his measurements. I say, how do you want it to fit? Do you want it to be snug, tight, blah, 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 blah. I pick the size. The sizes are numbered based on the bust circumference, and I simply do not remember the numbers. So we're gonna say that I picked the size small for him. And then I purchase yarn. The yarn comes, I gauge swatch, gauge is good. I start knitting away on the size small for him. So I knit the whole body, and as you can see, oh actually I don't know where it is. Oh, hello Mary. I don't know if you guys can see Mary, but she's here. She's looking out the window, longingly. So I knit basically the whole tube that is the body. There's ribbing on the sides that lines up with where the armholes are, okay? I go to divide for the armholes, I count my stitches, realize that I have placed the ribs in the wrong spot. Basically, the rib should have been like this on the side, and I looked at the stitch counts for either the size above or the size below, and one was placed like this. So for it to look like, have the nice contiguous look with the underarm and the shoulder details, basically it was not gonna happen. So I had a little freak out. I was like, what do I do? I like laddered down, I think is the correct knitting term, and then with a crochet hook, crocheted back and either made the stitches knit stitches or purl stitches based on what they actually needed to be. So I fixed that, and I was like, thank God, did that. Did all of the underarm details, did the front, did the back, seamed the front back together, had this cute looking thing, cute looking like vest, okay, cute. At the time, it's also important to know, my fiance and I were long distance, so he was not able to try this on as I was knitting it, okay? I start knitting one of the sleeves, and I'm looking at the sleeve, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, that looks like it would fit me well. So I put the sleeve on, I tried the sleeve on as if I'm wearing the sleeve, and it fits me like I would want a sleeve to fit. And he has larger arms than me. So I was like, this is simply not gonna work. Right, Mary? It's not gonna work. I know. Oh, she's so needy. So needy. I was like, this is not gonna work. The next time I go visit him, I pack the sleeve with me in my little like carry-on bag. I was being cheap. I had only had a personal item to fly with, okay? So I pack the sleeve with me, he tries it on, and it is simply too tight. It's not gonna work. And since it's a thing, I didn't feel comfortable adjusting the sleeve to make it work for the armhole, to seam it together. So I was like, okay, I need to make the size bigger. And then I basically sat and looked at the sweater for a couple months before unraveling it. Okay, so then I unravel it. This is not where it ends. I unravel it, I make the whole sweater again, the whole thing again. And then I ran out of yarn because I purchased yarn for a size smaller. So I ran out of yarn, and then I am like, what do I do? Do I order more yarn? The yarn, I was like, I'd have to buy one skein of yarn from this Danish knitting company. It's gonna take so long to get in. So then I'm looking at it and I try it on myself and I'm like, this is really, really long on me. I bet it's gonna be really long on him. So I wait, I don't work on it. And then the next time he comes to visit me, I have him try it on. And he's like, oh, this is actually really, really long. And I'm like, okay, great. So I'm like, I'll take some off the body. So I take from the body, I put a lifeline down here, I put a lifeline up there, and I snip and I unravel about, what is that? Probably about 5 centimeters of stockinette from the body. And then I have enough yarn to finish the last sleeve and to seam everything together. And then I stitch the body back together with Kitchener stitch. It took me probably 2 full hours to Kitchener stitch the entire body back together. The Kitchener stitch looks all right because there was some rib where I was Kitchenering. So like the ribbing details on the side that had gotten me earlier, it looks all right. All in all, that sweater took so many hours, the most effort I've probably put into any garment. He absolutely loves it. It is so cute on him. He looks great in it. He loves it. He wears it all the time. He gets compliments on it and he gets to say my fiance made it for me. So all in all, not a terrible story, but I will never make that pattern again. And every time I look at him wearing that sweater, I have a little like, and I did cry when I finished it. I've cried over my knits twice. That is one time. When I finished it, I was like, I cannot believe that I'm done with this. I simply cannot believe that I'm done with this. And don't worry, I'll tell you about the second time I cried over my knits in a little bit in this video. What did I learn from the ripped sweater? Honestly, nothing. Other than, that's not true. I learned to always double check your stitch counts if you're placing stitch markers. Double check that. That could have saved me a lot of time. And I measured him before and I gauge swatched and still it didn't matter. So still wouldn't do anything differently except for check your stitch markers. Another one that was a fail, the Mohair Gallant sweater by Kadri. This is one of the first, no, I think this is like the first, one of the first big girl knits that I did. So I made this within my first year of knitting. I think I made it like March of 2021, within a year of me starting to knit. I had just discovered like Knitstagram, that people had like knitting accounts for Instagram. And I had discovered Kadri, who's still one of my favorite designers. And at the time I was absolutely obsessed with all of her patterns. I still am, but I've discovered other knitwear designers. And at the time she was like the only knitwear designer that I knew of. Actually her and Ozetta are like the only knitwear designers that I like knew existed. Honestly, a beautiful bubble to be in. They're still 2 of my favorite designers. So Kadri released the Mohair Gallant sweater and her sample photos are gorgeous. The sweater is gorgeous. I have since made the sweater with a larger gauge. She has a couple of different gauges for this sweater. I made the one with the larger gauge. Love that sweater. So I see this sweater. I love it. Her sample photo is gorgeous. She used Drops Kid Silk in the color Curry, held double. I loved it. It was within my budget, so I was like, I want that exact same sweater. It was giving, I saw Regina George wearing army pants and flip-flops, so I wore army pants and flip-flops. Like, that's what it was giving. I saw Kadri in a Drops Kid Silk mohair sweater in Curry, so I wanted a Drops Kid Silk sweater in Curry. So I purchased it and made the whole sweater. The sweater itself turned out gorgeous, like gorgeous. As in, like, would make another one. Well, I did make another one, just with a different gauge. However, the color was horrendous on me. And I learned a very valuable lesson from this, which is, I don't like Drops Kid Silk. So, knit the whole sweater, wore it, and I was like, this color makes me look so washed out. It was just simply not a good color on me. And I hated the way it felt on my skin. It was like, it was so itchy. It felt like I was wearing hay. I hated it. And it's a thin sweater. It's kind of, it's not got a ton of positive ease. So I was like, I can't really wear a shirt underneath it. All that to say, I brought it on a trip with my college girlfriends. And one of my friends wore it for a day. She had flown Spirit, so she had like nothing packed in her bag. We were going to Boston, so it was cold, and she had like one sweater with her. And so I was like, oh, I have this sweater if you want to wear it. She wore it, looked gorgeous on her. And halfway through the day, I was like, does the sweater bother you? And she was like, what? And I was like, do you find it really itchy and uncomfortable to wear? She was like, no, I think it's comfortable. I think it's great. I was like, that's crazy. So I saw her a couple weeks ago. I gave her the sweater. All that to say. I was like, I'm never going to wear it. I hate the yarn, so why would I unravel it and make something else? And she absolutely loves it, and it looks so cute on her. So I gave her the sweater, and she loves it. She also took it on a trip recently and sent me a picture. So it's with a very, very happy owner. It's with its rightful owner. And I learned from that not to make something out of Drops Kid silk that's going to be directly on my skin. Easy lesson. And I'm careful about color selection. Just because it looks good on someone else does not mean it will look good on me. Valuable lesson for all of us to learn. Another, like, one of my earlier projects, I don't even think, like, this project predates my knitting Instagram and my YouTube, so I don't think I've ever actually talked about it on this channel before. But this was another project that I was making for my fiance. This was the Seasons sweater by Ozetta. I knit this using I made it using Knit Picks, Wool of the Andes Tweed, and Welly's Heather. I later repurposed this yarn for the Handloom sweater for him. Because spoiler alert, I unraveled this project. So basically, again, this was very early into my knitting career, and I was discovering other designers, but still loved Ozetta and Kadri, and that was pretty much the only patterns that I was looking at. Ozetta had just released the Season sweater, and it was gorgeous, and I loved the way it looked, and so did my fiance, except it has kind of more of like a feminine shape. The shoulders aren't very broad, and so I was like, oh, well, let me just take this half fisherman rib raglan sweater and adjust it for my fiance's measurements. Ridiculous. I knit the whole thing. I did this crazy math. I knit the whole thing, and I think at the end of the day, he tried it on as we went, and he liked it all right. It looked okay. At the end of the day, I think it was just too bulky of a knit. The raglan didn't look great on him, and he tried it on when I had finished it, and we both were just like, ugh, that doesn't look good. Something about the cuffs, it was just simply too bulky of a sweater, and the shaping just was not right because I had messed with the shaping. So we both looked at it and we were like, this looks terrible on you. So what I learned from that is don't make adjustments that are out of your, don't make adjustments that are out of your, like, in medicine we say scope of practice, and I feel like that's the best way to put it. Like, beyond your limits, but then how do you know what your limits are if you don't push them? I tried to make adjustments that were too advanced for me, and I think the yarn selection for that pattern was probably not the best. All that to say, huge fail in the sense that I made a whole sweater and then unraveled it. But got a great sweater out of it, the Handloom sweater. Excellent. He loves it. I love it. He wears it. I wear it. Great sweater. Great yarn. Great yarn for that sweater. Not a great yarn for the Season sweater. All right. Another fail, maybe the biggest fail, I want to say, is my Harlow sweater V-neck by Kadri. I also knit this using Hip Knit Shop Pop Merino in the color Chocolate Toffee. And this was my favorite thing that I ever knit for myself. And this is the other time that I cried over my knitting. So basically, I knit this sweater, the Harlow sweater V-neck by Kadri. I've since made two more, one for a friend and then one for me. I've since made more. I love this sweater. I loved everything about it. I wore it. It was comfy. It was just the right amount of, like, it was just warm enough, but it was breathable. It was perfect for transition. I wore it as like a sweatshirt with like leggings and a t-shirt, and then I also dressed it up with like jeans and skirts. I loved everything about it. The color was perfection, so perfectly neutral. I accidentally put it in the washing machine thinking it was another one of my sweatshirts, and it felted. This was about, I think I'd only finished it for like 3 or 4 months, and I felted it, and it was beyond repair. It was beyond repair, just from the washing machine. There was absolutely no going back. It looked terrible. I could not wear it. I pulled it out of the washing machine, and I saw it, and I was like, what have I done? And I started sobbing. In addition, it was also a difficult time in my life. I was just starting my 3rd year of medical school, and my fiance and I had decided that he would stay where we were living before, and that I would go to where my school had placed me for 3rd year. So decided we were going to do a long distance. So I'd moved out of where we were living, and I was moving to Jersey, where I was supposed to live with my 2 new roommates. And our landlord, the day before we were supposed to move, was like, haha, by the way, she was completely gutting the place and renovating it. And she was like, by the way, we didn't get the permits that we needed to allow people to live there, so you won't be able to move in for a couple of weeks. And I was like, what? I'm supposed to start school. Like, I have to start rotations. Like, I have things to do. So she ended up paying for us to live in an Airbnb, but it was last minute. All that to say, I was in an Airbnb with my new roommate, some lady's basement, and I'd only packed a certain number of clothes with me that were like my comfort clothes, and that was the only knitted item that I'd packed. And I felted it. And so I was under a lot of stress about starting school, being long distance with my fiance, living in kind of a new place, but like living in some lady's Airbnb, living in a new state, trying to figure everything out. I didn't really know my roommate at the time. It was a lot. Like, the cherry on top, last straw, was me felting my sweater, and I just broke down. So half cried over my knits, half cried because I was under a lot of stress. So what I learned from that, I think, is obvious. Don't put your knitwear in the washing machine. I will never put any knitted item in the washing machine unless I do not care about it. Even if it is like super wash, even if every single person online is like, oh yes, I put it in the washing machine on this exact cycle, it's totally fine. I'll never do it. I'll never trust a washing machine again. So that's my Harlow sweater. A couple more. Another one from last summer that I talked about on my knitting podcast is my lime skirt. This is actually the only thing that I currently have access to. Some of the other things are like tucked away in storage bins because it's summer, so I don't have them, but I do have this one. I don't know what to do with it. This is my lime skirt by La Pole. I knit this last summer using, Rowan mercerized cotton in the color Natural, which is a discontinued yarn. Thank God, because I hate this yarn. It was gifted to me by a family friend. I knit this skirt as a combo with like a 2-piece set with my boat neck batwing top by James & Watts, which I love, as a beach cover-up. And so I knit this skirt to go along with it as another beach cover-up. And it is a huge fail. I don't know if you can see. I will show it to you to make it obvious. This is the waist, which is the largest part of the skirt. And as I pull it up, you can see it gets smaller. Even if I hold it like this, it gets smaller. Why is the waist the largest part of this skirt? There's so much wrong with this skirt. I don't even know where to start. Number one, I didn't gauge swatch. Why did I not gauge swatch? I have no freaking idea. I have no idea why I didn't gauge swatch. Why did I not gauge swatch this entirely filet knit? I don't know. I don't know why I didn't gauge swatch. Number two, I played Yarn Chicken a little too hard, and this is the bind off. Even if I liked the way this skirt looked on myself, this is the bind off. I don't know how well you can see it. I'm using my muscles so hard. This has absolutely no give. Even if I liked the way this looked and was able to wear it, I could only take a half step at a time in it. No full strides in this because it's so limited. And then the biggest problem is that the waist is just simply too big. I put elastic in, measured the elastic for how I wanted it to fit, and either didn't choose a good size, the elastic was too small, It's truly unclear, but when I put it on, it basically does not hug me tight at all in the waist, and it is tight in my hips, and then it fits like it should from like the mid thigh down. It looks so unflattering. If I'm feeling brave, actually, no. I recorded some B-roll of this in my podcast from last, let's see, I was in Philly when I recorded it. So it was last August or September. I may or may not include the B-roll in here because it's like I've never put on a knitwear item and been like, this is like maybe the most unflattering thing I've ever worn in my life. And I don't really know that I want footage of it, of me wearing it, in 2 places on the internet. So depends. It's just so unflattering. On top of that, I hate the yarn. The yarn feels like it is heavy and like slightly damp all the time. There is absolutely no moisture wicking to it. There's no breathability to it. It's terrible yarn, but it was gifted to me by a family friend. So it was free, but at what cost? At what cost? I need to do something else with this. I'm considering a bag, another top. No, I don't want anything to wear this with. Probably a bag, a tote of some sort to do with this, because obviously I haven't decided what to do with this. Yeah, I don't know. What did I learn from this? What did I learn from this? I learned to gauge swatch and pick a size carefully, because I think part of my issue with this was that I didn't size myself well. I didn't pick a good size. And if you don't like the way a yarn feels on your skin, don't knit yourself something with it that you're gonna have to wear and feel on your skin. It's simply not worth it. For the sake of destashing, it's simply not worth it. So that's that. I'm never gonna think about it again. I don't know if you guys can see Mary. Can you see Mary? There's Mary. She's sitting right next to me being such a little baby. And I'm about to talk about her and the sweater that I knit her, right, BBs? That should be a similar angle as it was before, but I wanted to show you Mary, and she didn't want to come sit on my lap because I'm sitting close to the edge of the bed and she's always scared she's gonna fall off. But we have to talk about the sweater that I made you, or tried to make you. We do. This last one is hilarious. It's one of my funniest things that I feel like I've ever done with my knitting. This was several years ago. This was in my first 2 years of med school. Either my first or second year, I'm not sure. I decided to make Mary Jane a dog sweater, to knit her a dog sweater. And she is probably the most like unknit-worthy person in my life. She hates wearing clothes, like store-bought sweaters. She hates them. We actually use it as a tactic when we are taking her out somewhere or we're having someone come over and we want her to be a little bit more mellow. We'll put clothes on her, and it just like, she looks so cute in them, but she just doesn't feel like herself. So I was like, I want to make her a dog sweater. I had some leftover yarn. It was We Are Knitters the wool in natural, I think. It's like their off-white color. So I decided to basically like DIY this dog sweater. I found a free pattern online. I want to say it was like the Rainbow Pooch sweater. Wait, let me just tell you very quickly. Oh yeah, it's the Rainbow Pooch sweater by Karen Design Team. It is one of the only super bulky dog sweaters. And I wanted to add a cable pattern to the sweater, so I DIY'd a cable pattern on the back of the sweater. The problem is this is a seamed dog sweater. So you basically knit the back, which is kind of like a rectangle. The whole back is like a rectangle. And then you knit the front, which is shaped like the top of a pencil, kind of like a trapezoid on top of a square. It's like narrow here at the front where their little, like the neck is, and then it expands and gets wider as it covers their like abdomen and their back. So you knit those two pieces, seam them together, and then you leave space for the armholes when seaming, and you go in, you pick up stitches for the armholes, knit them a little armholes, and knit them a little neck. It's very cute. So I knit the front and I knit the back, and I'd already had like a bad day, and I was like, no, let me push through, let me seam this together. I hate seaming. I was like, let me seam this together. So I seam it together and I'm looking at it. And I'm like, oh my God, it's so cute. And I'm like, I want to try it on Mary. I want to see what she looks like with it on. See if it fits, make sure it fits. So I like prop her up and I put this sweater on her. And I'm like, oh my God, it's so cute. And I only realize when it's on her body that I have not left space for armholes. I basically made her like a straight jacket. I like knit her a tube to wear. So there's a picture, I have it, it's one of my favorite pictures of her, I'll put it up, of her with her little sweater on and her arms are like this. She has like no space for her arms and she looks very uncomfortable, but it looks like she's appeasing me. It's because she knew I'd had a bad day. And I was like a little sad in the moment when I did it. I was like, oh my God, I spent so much time seaming this. It was such a fail, but it was a hilarious fail that I still laugh about to this day, like every now and then. Actually, a lot of times people will ask like, oh, have you knit anything for Mary? And I'm like, I tried to one time. Do you want to see the picture of it? It's hilarious. So yeah, that is like my funniest knitting fail. What did I learn from that? I don't know. Leave space for the armholes if you're sewing a dog sweater. That is it. Those are all of my knitting fails so far. I'm sure there will be more to come for knitting fails. But like I said, let me know if you've made any of the same mistakes as me, or let me know some of your biggest knitting fails so that we can all laugh about it together on YouTube, because you have to learn from it and then you have to laugh about it. If you don't, that's just so sad. I would be so sad. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Happy knitting wherever you are. It's starting to creep up into fall here, which is very exciting because I've been sort of off my knitting groove in the summer, hoping it comes back in the fall and I can make some nice cozy sweaters. So happy knitting wherever you are. Hope you're not actively in the process of making a failed knit as you're watching this. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.